Good morning. As you may see here, and as you may have realized from the previous presentations, what has been said about payment in the previous presentation shows that actually there's lots of complexity, and the complexity is increasing with lots of new initiatives. Now let's get back to basics. In mobile payment, we need some security. And before needing some security in mobile payment, we need some security in mobile communication. So let's get back to basics. What's a secure element? The secure element is the physical part that's responsible for security. I suppose none of you is discovering anything when I give a demonstration definition this way. For years, for a few decades, we have had secure elements in mobile phones. Secure elements look like what you may see here. We all know them. These are SIM cards. And what was the use of those secure elements? The original use was to carry the subscriber credentials. Now, most of the subscriber-related data has moved from the SIM card to the handset, with the emergence of smartphones that have got more and more functions and more memory. And the SIM card is back to only one function, which is user authentication. Then we have a struggle between different subparts of this industry. The SIM card industry has been struggling for years to increase the added value into the SIM card, while the handset industry was struggling to increase the added value in the handset. The emergence of the smartphones demonstrate who has won so far. There's a lot more added value in the handset nowadays than in the SIM card. There are still some initiatives to try and add value into the SIM card. Several of you may remember an initiative that was announced in February 2014 at the GSMA Mobile World Congress, which was called Mobile Connect. The idea behind Mobile Connect was to propose an easy and standardized authentication method to perform authentication for applications based on the credentials that are present in the SIM card. One must say about Mobile Connect that several solutions, since February 2014, several solutions have been introduced. I've not yet seen any significant consumer adoption or any significant adoption by application issuers of this technology. Now, what are the alternatives to SIM cards? Well, first, there's a need that has emerged in the industry, which is M2M, mobile-to-mobile, machine-to-machine communication, and it has been experienced that the SIM card form factor is not the most convenient for M2M because of connectivity issues, because of space, because of several parameters. For this reason, the M2M industry has switched to an embedded SIM card, or an embedded SIM, to be more specific. The SIM chip is embedded into the M2M device. For this reason, the industry has been bound to develop the right features, the right procedures, the right programs, the right integration to propose remote provisioning, to be able to download machine-related data. It's not subscriber-related data, or in a way it's subscriber-related data, into any SIM card that's already on the field. What's coming up now will affect our lives a lot more than what's happening in M2M. As the embedded SIM model has been demonstrated with M2M, now it's coming to handsets. It's coming to probably an intermediate space, which is the market of wearables and the market of tablets. Tablets are not totally handsets, are not as portable as handsets, they are not as personal as handsets. They are more than machines that we consider in the M2M business. So they are somewhere in between. The trend of the eSIM is to have an embedded SIM in the handset. Have a SIM that's soldered somewhere in the handset, which means it's no longer the property of the mobile network operator, and which means a new business is to emerge, which is a business of people managing the subscription into an embedded SIM that we call a subscription manager. Things are moving fast in this industry. Years ago, in the early 2010s, I think it was in 11, there was a demonstration made during CART by Gemalto and Apple, showing an embedded SIM into an iPhone of that time. This has triggered lots of reactions from the mobile network operators, who exercised pressures on both partners, and who ensured the project was abandoned as fast as they could. But there's a trend of innovation, there's a trend of going towards more flexibility, more data in the cloud, less hardware, and the eSIM is coming back. The latest important step happened in Mobile World Congress in July 2015 in Shanghai, where there has been a statement published by Apple, Samsung, and a large number of leading mobile operators, including AT&T, Deutsche Telekom, Etisalat, Hutchison, and so on, accepting the embedded SIM model, announcing they're going to reach a specification in the first quarter of 2016. So the specification is to come fast, and as soon as the specification is ready, we will see the first devices on the field. We at Smart Insights have just been studying this, all these impacts of the embedded SIM, and we've just been publishing a Smart Insights report about the subject. So if you want to know more after this presentation, we have a lot more information and a lot more research made about this subject. Now, the issue with the secure element, besides deciding whether it's removable or embedded, is who owns it. And the next step is not only the secure element for mobile communication, but the secure element for mobile payment. When we've been introducing NFC in handsets, it was a common agreement that we needed a secure element. And the core issue, everyone in this industry has been struggling for years to own the secure element. So the first form factor for a secure element was the embedded secure element, put in there by the handset vendor, under the management of the handset vendor or a third party, typically a trusted a TSM, a trusted service manager, sorry about it. And the issue was who was to play the TSM role. The next form factor for the secure element was the secure element in the SIM under the control of the mobile network operators, playing the role of the TSM at the same time. We must say, if we look at the all the NFC projects that are on the field, it's quite evenly split between the number of projects that use an embedded secure element and the number of projects that use SIM-based secure element. The third form factor that has been explored is the micro SD. The micro SD was an idea launched by typically the financial institutions to ensure they would keep control of the secure element. I must say I've not yet found any sizable project going beyond the trial that would use a micro SD based secure element. Although the most important recent event in the mobile payment field was the advent of Apple Pay. Apple Pay was introduced less than a year ago, and it has changed everything in the field of mobile communication, of mobile payment. Remember, before Apple Pay, so that was just a few months ago, everyone was discouraged about all the NFC trials, not to see any real size market implementation, and everyone was ready to think, well, we've been working on this for 10 years and did not succeed. Let's move to something else. Then Apple Pay came and brought a new interest into mobile payment. How do they do it? They have a secure element, which is embedded, as it the whole project is driven by a handset vendor. They use tokenization. They use biometrics as an authentication means. And they combine all these technologies that were already existent, that were already known by everyone, in a manner that's slightly specific. And what Apple always does, they use standards, and they bend the standards a little bit to make it totally proprietary. Now, there's other options to bring security in a handset. Another thing about security in a handset, the other important event was the launch of HCE. People from SimplyTap, supported by the heavyweight Google, saying, well, why do we need to bother about all this hardware stuff while we are in a totally connected world? We can run security from the server, from the cloud, name it the way you like. Actually, it's not this different. And have a handset with just some software features. So with HC, the security is provided by software running in the handset in relation with security features in the cloud or in a remote port. The advantage of HC is it's supported by all the big names. It's integrated in Android. It's supported by Visa and MasterCard. And HC has also brought a solution to the deadlock in which we were for years, which was the endless struggle between financial institutions, mobile network operators, and handset vendors for a market that was still non-existent. So HC was a solution. Now, if we keep going to other solutions for secure elements, there's another technology that's emerging, which is the TEE, the Trusted Execution Environment. The principle of a TEE is to provide a secure area in the baseband processor of a handset that is able to contain keys and perform authentication procedures. So a TEE provides all the basics to run authentication from the handset. Typical applications from the people supporting the TEE. First, digital content protection. The advantage of digital content protection is that it's not directly related neither to mobile communication nor to mobile payment. So they are not stepping on anyone else's territory. Then, what comes later? Mobile payment. Of course, we've got a deadlock between the supporters of various options for the secure element. We've got the solution coming from HC supporters that not everyone found satisfactory because it's only software-based. People coming from a hardware background keep on considering good securities to be based on hardware. That brings a better level of security than anything software-based. And another objective of the TE is to support data that is either used for enterprise security, to support government data for government identity, and to ensure that all data that's kept in a handset is secure, thanks to hardware and software running in the baseband processor, so that makes it very difficult to tamper with. Now, what's the situation now? Well, I've been listing over the last few minutes a huge series of secure elements. We've got the SIM. The SIM is supplied by the mobile network operator. It's owned by the mobile network operator. It's switching to an eSIM. The eSIM is to be managed by a subscription manager, supplied by the handset vendor, owned by the subscriber. If we consider doing mobile payment, we've got a secure element managed by, well, a variety of people depending on the implementation, by the MNO, by financial institutions, by independent TSMs. We would have a TE. Well, and this a bit too much, and this a bit too complex, too many processors, and too many players in the field. In any electronic device, we hate having several microprocessors for several reasons. First reason is cost. The microprocessor is often the most important cost in any electronics device, and if we're going to have a baseband processor plus a SIM plus a secure element, plus some security in a TE, we're multiplying the processes. The trend is always towards simplification and cost reduction. So all of this will not last. Also, the issue of secure element ownership has led the industry to a dead end. And everyone has been struggling for this over a market that was not yet developed. So having a multiplicity of secure elements might lead us to more dead end. So where do we go from this? Well, the MNOs are, for the time being, owning the subscriber relationship. They want to keep on owning it. With the switch from the traditional SIM to the embedded SIM, this may change, and this will change. The user of a handset in the situation of mobile payment is also a payer. How do we pay? As was demonstrated in earlier presentations this morning, the payment still goes through the traditional financial institutions. None of the actors in mobile payment has tried to displace the traditional financial institutions. Who do we relate with when we have a smartphone? Who do we get applications from? Who takes care of our data? It's the handset vendor, or the app store that's linked to the handset vendor. So all these are people who interact with the position of the end user. So what goes on? Well, we're not yet at the end of the story. What's going to happen in the future? Well, first, the SIM will, in the midterm, first starting with some markets, first starting with some locations, first starting with some market segments, be replaced by the embedded SIM. The embedded SIM will play the role the SIM is playing for the time being. The subscription manager business will emerge, will take a large part of the current role of the mobile network operator in proposing subscriptions, selling them, collecting the fees associated with the subscriptions, and so on. Who's going to be powerful in there? The subscription manager with an architecture that will be cloud-based. At the same time, the physical secure element is not dead, but HC sounds like a quite good candidate to replace the physical secure element. How does HC actually work? Most of the securities run out of the handset in the cloud. However, for all this, there's still a need for some authentication from the handset. We cannot consider a situation where any handset, any user, any credentials can be substituted by any other handset, any other set of credentials, and at the end, any user. And anyone can impersonate anyone just by using a different handset. The only way to solve this is still to have some authentication from the handset. So what we see, what I anticipate going, and when I'm doing this, I'm going much further my role as an industry analyst, making some fact-based analysis and forecast. In the long term, what's going to happen is still having a chip for authentication in the handset, but having most of the security actually performed remotely, performed in the cloud by people who will be in charge of managing the security, a combination of the TSM and the subscription manager. Now, from this, we can go a lot further in detail about this. We've published a couple documents that will give you some information about this. We published a few months ago a study about TE. The one we published this week is the one about eSIM, and now eSIM will change the situation for the SIM business and change the situation both in terms of consumer relationship, in terms of who's managing the security, who's managing the consumer relationship into the handsets. Now, just to conclude this quick presentation, well, I've been in this industry for long, and for long, the SIM was what was the less evolving in the industry. We were just adding extra memory, having faster SIMs, and that was about it. Now, we're for the first time in decades, on the verge of a revolution in the SIM business. In the mobile payment business, I think most of you in this room will agree, we've not been extremely performant as an industry. We started working on mobile payment 10 years ago and only succeeded after years of trials, hundreds of trials, and we're just yet reaching real size market availability of mobile payment. Now, let's step back and look a little bit further at what's happening in the world, besides mobile communication, besides mobile payment, besides our own secure transactions industry. The world is evolving from hardware to software. Everything that was done in hardware a couple of decades ago is now performed by software. Remember, your handsets with its set of applications replaces a full set of tools that previously were hardware-based. The world is evolving from software to services. Owning devices, owning software is replaced by accessing a service. What's happening in the secure transactions industry is just a result of these global trends. We're moving from hardware to software. We're moving from physical secure elements, physical SIMs, to software, embedded SIMs, and HCE, and we're moving to services. This is it for my presentations. Of course, if you've got any questions, I'd be glad to answer you.